Your brain was not designed for the world you are currently living in. It was designed for a world where rewards were rare, hard-earned, and genuinely meaningful. A world where food required effort to find, where connection required physical presence, where information arrived slowly and had to be sought out deliberately. In that world, the dopamine system worked exactly as intended. You worked, you waited, you earned, and the reward felt significant because the effort matched it. That world is gone. And what replaced it is a system so precisely engineered to exploit your dopamine response that most people living inside it do not even realize how deeply it has altered the way their brain processes effort, reward, and satisfaction. Every notification is a dopamine hit. Every scroll is a dopamine hit. Every like, every suggested video, every auto-playing episode, every food delivery arriving in 30 minutes, every 2-day shipping, every instant answer to every question, all of it is dopamine. Fast, effortless, endless dopamine. And your brain, which cannot distinguish between earned reward and manufactured stimulation, is adapting to this environment the only way it knows how. It is raising its baseline. When your brain receives dopamine stimulation at a high frequency and low effort, it does not simply enjoy the stimulation. It recalibrates. The receptors that respond to dopamine become less sensitive in order to manage the constant flood. The baseline level of stimulation required to feel normal rises. And what this means in practical terms is that the things which used to feel rewarding, focused work, reading, a conversation, a walk outside, the slow satisfaction of making progress on something difficult, begin to feel flat, boring, unrewarding. Not because they are, but because your recalibrated brain can no longer register them at their actual value against the noise of constant high-stimulation input. This is not a metaphor. This is measurable neurological adaptation, and it is happening to most people who carry a smartphone and have access to on-demand entertainment, food, and social validation. The result is a person who finds it increasingly difficult to sit with a single task for more than a few minutes, who feels restless and vaguely dissatisfied during any period of silence or low stimulation, who reaches for the phone automatically, not because there is anything specific to check, but because the nervous system has been trained to seek the next hit before the last one has even registered. If any part of that description sounds like your daily experience, your dopamine system needs a reset. And a 24-hour detox is where that reset begins. Before explaining what the detox involves, understand what it is actually doing neurologically. When you remove high-stimulation inputs for an extended period, two things happen. First, the dopamine receptors that have been downregulated begin to upregulate. Their sensitivity increases. The baseline recalibrates downward toward its natural set point. This process does not take weeks. Measurable sensitivity changes begin within hours of removing the stimulus. 24 hours of deliberate low stimulation creates a neurological shift that most people can actually feel by the end of the period, not as excitement, but as a quiet return of the ability to find ordinary things genuinely satisfying. Second, and equally important, the 24-hour detox breaks the automatic behavioral loop. Your phone checking, your scrolling, your reaching for stimulation is not a conscious decision most of the time. It is a habit loop running below conscious awareness, triggered by boredom, discomfort, transition moments between tasks, or simply the sight of the phone within reach. A 24-hour break does not permanently rewire the loop, but it surfaces it. You become aware of how often the impulse fires, how automatic it is, and how little conscious choice is involved in your normal relationship with stimulation. That awareness is itself valuable and difficult to generate any other way. Here is exactly how to structure the 24 hours. The night before, prepare your environment. This is not optional and not a minor detail. Environment determines behavior more reliably than intention, especially when intention is going to be tested by a nervous system running an automatic loop that has been reinforced thousands of times. Remove the apps from your phone that are your primary stimulation sources for the next 24 hours, not muted, not in a folder, deleted or logged out. Put the television remote in a drawer in a different room. If you use a laptop for entertainment, close the browser and put the laptop somewhere inconvenient. If you have physical food delivery apps or snack drawers you reach for automatically, decide in advance what you are eating tomorrow and prepare it or make it unavailable. The friction created by these environmental changes is the single most important predictor of whether the detox holds. Your willpower on day one of a dopamine detox, when the nervous system is already beginning to signal for its normal inputs, is not the version of willpower that should be relied upon to overcome a convenient phone sitting on the desk. Remove the convenience. Make the right behavior the easy one. During the 24 hours, here is what you replace the stimulation with. Physical activity that requires your full presence. Not a workout with headphones and a podcast. A walk without audio input. A training session where you are actually in the room with your own effort rather than distracted away from the discomfort of it. Movement that returns your awareness to your physical body rather than keeping it locked in a screen-mediated mental space. Time in nature, even brief, even urban. Research on attention restoration theory shows that natural environments restore directed attention capacity at a rate that indoor environments cannot match. The visual complexity of a natural setting, which is rich but non-demanding, allows the prefrontal cortex to recover from the depleting effects of constant directed attention and stimulation management. 30 minutes outside without a phone or audio produces measurable cognitive restoration. During a dopamine detox, this is not optional recreation. It is active neurological maintenance. Analog activities that require sustained attention at low stimulation. Reading a physical book. Writing by hand. Cooking from scratch. Building or repairing something physical. Drawing. Any activity that occupies your hands and your mind without providing the rapid reward cycle of digital stimulation. These activities feel boring or difficult in the first 20 to 30 minutes of the detox, and that resistance is the adaptation already beginning to reverse. The discomfort is the system recalibrating. Do not exit it. Deep conversation with another person, without devices present. Not a conversation that runs alongside phone checking. A conversation where both people are fully present, where silence is allowed to exist without being filled by reaching for a screen, where attention stays on the person in front of you for the full duration. This kind of conversation has become rare enough that many people feel mildly anxious at the prospect of it, which is itself significant information about how far the baseline has shifted. The hardest period is going to be between the 2-hour and 6-hour marks. This is when the withdrawal from normal stimulation levels is most acute. Not withdrawal in the clinical sense, though the neurochemistry is more similar than most people are comfortable acknowledging. But a real and uncomfortable restlessness. A sense that something is missing. An inability to settle. A stream of justifications from the part of your brain that runs the stimulation loop, each one more reasonable sounding than the last. You need to check something important. A few minutes will not hurt. You can restart tomorrow with more preparation. Recognize every single one of these thoughts as the loop talking, not as legitimate reasoning. The loop is intelligent, fluent, and highly motivated to survive. It will use your own voice, your own logic, and your own real concerns as material. The way to identify it is simple. Every thought that ends in a reason to access high stimulation is the loop. Every one. Without exception. Acknowledge it, do not argue with it, and return to whatever low stimulation activity you are currently in. The restlessness peaks and then subsides. For most people, by hour 8 to 10, something quieter and more spacious begins to appear. A reduction in the baseline noise. An ability to settle into an activity without the constant pull toward something else. A quality of presence that felt unavailable earlier in the day. This is the recalibration beginning to register consciously. By the end of the 24 hours, 3 things will have shifted. Your sensitivity to low stimulation rewards will have increased measurably. The cup of coffee, the conversation, the chapter of the book, the view from the window, these will register differently than they did before the detox began. Not dramatically, quietly. But the shift is real and it is neurological, not psychological placebo. Your awareness of the automatic stimulation loop will be permanently higher than it was before. You will have watched the impulse fire dozens of times across the day, observed it without acting on it, and learned something about your own relationship with stimulation that no amount of reading about dopamine could have taught you. Experiential knowledge of your own automatic behavior is qualitatively different from conceptual knowledge of it. And your tolerance for productive discomfort, the kind that comes from sitting with a difficult task, a slow process, or an unrewarding middle period, will have increased. Because you spent an entire day practicing exactly that. Sitting with the discomfort of low stimulation without exiting it. That is the same skill required to maintain discipline on any difficult goal, and you built it, in real time, across 24 hours. The detox is not a cure. The environment you return to after 24 hours is the same environment that recalibrated your baseline in the first place, and without structural changes to how you engage with it daily, the recalibration will begin reversing within days. Use the 24 hours as a diagnostic and a reset, not as a destination. What it reveals about your relationship with stimulation, what it feels like to be present without distraction, what activities and experiences register as genuinely satisfying when the noise is removed. Carry all of that back into your regular life and let it inform permanent structural choices about your environment, your phone use, your daily schedule, and the stimulation inputs you choose or refuse. Your brain is not broken. It adapted to the environment it was given. Give it a different environment, even for 24 hours, and it will begin adapting in the other direction. The reset starts tonight. Prepare the environment. Delete the apps. Close the tabs. 24 hours from now, your brain will be working differently than it is right now. That is not a small thing.